Pat, let me know when it comes up on Facebook. You see it? Let me stop right there because I gotta have that up.
This broadcast do not reflect nor represent Service of Christ Ministries Incorporated. Praise the Lord, saints, and welcome to the Gospel Truth.
Good morning, good afternoon to wherever you are in media. This is Pastor Jerry Jones, and once again, we're very happy to welcome you to the Gospel Truth. This morning, we have a very special guest with us. We have Miss Blegay, who is indeed a candidate for Prince George's County seat number 6, district number 6. And so we are going to introduce her to you. But before we do, I want to give you a little of the gospel truth of what the gospel truth is all about. In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, at the very first verse, the Bible records these words for us. It says, "Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preached unto you, which also you have received, and wherein you stand, by which also you are saved, if you keep in memory what I preached unto you, unless you have believed in vain. For I have delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the scriptures." This is in fact the gospel truth, the truth that many of us as Christians uphold, hold the banner high, and proclaim that Jesus Christ is Lord of Lords and that he is King of Kings. In fact, we believe that Jesus Christ died for our sins. Indeed, he served as the propitiation for our trespasses against God Almighty. And so the gospel truth is designed to uplift God's people. The gospel truth is designed to spread and propagate the gospel of Jesus Christ. And in doing that, we reach out to all segments of the broader community, which is in Washington, D.C., and beyond our borders in Prince George's County, out through California, through Canada, through Ghana, through Trinidad, the Caribbean, Barbados, in all parts of the world is where we reach out to spread this gospel truth. And so, my brothers and sisters, it is indeed a real honor, a real privilege, a pleasure for me now to introduce our guest for today, and that is Miss Wala Blegay, who is coming to us with her heart open and with a message of encouragement for all of God's people. I just want to say that Ms. Blegay, again, is a candidate for Prince George's County Council District number 6. And indeed, she has been a Prince George's County resident for over 15 years and is an advocate for civil rights, for women's issues, for workers' rights. And she is currently counsel for the DC Nurses Association, and indeed founder. She is founder of Masa Consulting the People's Advocacy LLC, a talk show host for the chat with which provides free legal advice. I need some of that to the residents of Prince George's County. Wala previously served on several boards and commissions in the Prince George's County area. And just give me 1 second so I can get the screen set up that we might be able to receive our guest, Ms. Wala Blegay. Just give me 1 second, people. The screen has gone kind of low on me. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. Ms. Blegay, welcome to the Gospel Truth. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. Welcome to the Gospel Truth. I would like for you to share your screen with us on whatever it is that you would like to share.
Okay. I'm going to play my video or my announcement. So here we
Hello,
go.
my name is Wala Blegay, and I am announcing my candidacy for Prince George's County Council, District 6. Great things are happening in our community, and that is what we deserve. A community where we can live, work, and play with all of the amenities benefiting great communities like ours. Prince George's County has been my home for over 20 years. It's where I bought my first home, where I attended college, and where I began my career as an attorney. I'm running because I have dedicated my career as an attorney to working for people on issues that impact lives in our community. That experience has prepared me to be an advocate for people and communities in District 6. My work has been about helping working people gain protections and improving the workplace for nurses and other healthcare workers. I've been an advocate on issues of civil rights, foreclosure, police reform, quality healthcare access for all residents, and protecting immigrant families. You may know me from my show, Chat with the Lawyer, educating our residents on their legal rights. If you elect me, you will have an advocate with vision and experience. I will work hard to build an even better District 6. And on the County Council, I will never forget that I am working for you. So contact me at my website at walablegay.com or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. I look forward to hearing from you. And I promise, I will stand with District 6, and I am asking you to stand with me.
Very, very nice, Ms. Blegay. I want to just get right into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? your childhood, your rearing, how you came up, where did you come up, so forth.
Yes, I did. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I want to start by saying that my family is from Liberia and Nigeria, and they came here for better opportunity. I was born and raised here. I was born in Washington, D.C., and raised by my parents here. But my parents instilled in me public service because they had come from countries where there was war. My mom was born at a time in Nigeria where there was the Biafra War, the attack on the Igbo people, and that broke up our family. And my dad, once he wanted to return to Liberia, the Civil War ensued in the late 80s, and this was 89. And so, we were, I was growing up where we couldn't find family members, trying to call family members, couldn't find them, because people were escaping because of the war. So the reality was so scary that my parents were like, you have great opportunities in this country and take advantage of it and give back. My parents were involved politically in the district, where we were with Marion Barry and Charlene Drew Jarvis and a lot of the local representatives in the district. And we even came to Prince George's County with Paris Glendenning, was the county executive at the time. But I learned from my parents, just giving back, being active in the community was important and made a difference. And I decided that I wanted to take that with me. When I went to college, I got involved with a lot of organizations. NAACP, I was a vice president of my local chapter at NAACP. I also got involved with unions through the Union Summer Program with the AFL-CIO, where I was an organizer in New York and watched the Met workers were trying to be organized, and you had kiosk workers that were that were only paid minimum wage at a very wealthy company that could pay them more, and they could live nowhere near the Met Museum, but had to live in the Bronx and far away because they really could not afford to to live anywhere around there because of such low wages. But that was an eye opener. And so when I left college, I knew I wanted to be an attorney, and I wanted to make change. And so I went to law school. But before I went to law school, I actually worked in the General Assembly for a delegate in the General Assembly, learning the laws and how they pass the laws in the state of Maryland. I worked for Congressman Steny Hoyer. I was one of the liaisons working with a lot of the women issues. The Women's Breakfast was one of the projects that I worked with. And I worked, with different, Rashawn Baker, Rosa Pap, learning just Maryland, the political world in Maryland and Prince George's County. And then when I went to college, I knew that I wanted to be, especially a labor lawyer.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So as you came up in the District of Columbia, you actually worked for some of the same council members that I also had the privilege of working with. I worked very closely with Charlene Jarvis, John Ray Marbury, and then later served with Walter Fauntroy on Capitol Hill, as well as executive office of the president. Sounds like that, based on your family heritage and your background, that you have been working in public service for a very, very long time and having an impact, particularly with the idea that you're bringing forth the issues for workers' rights and women's rights and civil rights. Can you tell us a little bit about how working with all of these very prominent, important politicians helped to shape your thought process and why this drove you into more public service, serving those of us citizens of Prince George's County? What is it that really motivates you to want to do this?
Well, I was young at that time, so it was shaping my aspect on life. It really was more my parents. We were part of immigrant communities moving into the district at the time. Most immigrant communities lived in one place. A lot of us were not very wealthy, but kind of, sort of struggling. So a lot of immigrant groups came together. A lot of people came through the war. So there was the TPS, the temporary protective status for the Liberians. A lot of various groups came in. And so there was advocacy to kind of protect the interests of immigrant communities, the African immigrant communities that was moving in to the district. And so it was interesting just to see I sat through organizing meetings where the immigrant leaders would get together and kind of talk about how we could push the issues of immigrant communities. And I took that with me later on. That temporary status that a lot of the Liberians came on was challenged twice, in my tenure just being an advocate. In 2007, I was working with Congressman Steny Hoyer when President Bush at the time decided to end, there was discussion that he was going to end the temporary protective status for Liberians at that time. And that meant that anybody that was on TPS, temporary protective status, understand in 1990, 91, the civil war, as I mentioned before, started in 89. By 1991, the U.S. offered protective status to those coming from Liberia.
I may just ask you a quick question. I don't want to interrupt you, but when you talk about immigrants coming to the country and some of the social status that impacted, particularly you're mentioning Liberia, persons from Liberia, what was that like? What was that like to be in that environment where people were, discussing their status? I'm just trying to get a feel for what type of conversation were the people having, and then we'll move on to some other things. But I think it's important to know how your ideology and philosophy and your worldview has been shaped. And so, what types of conversations were they having back in those days about their situation?
Well, understand, I think when people talk about, immigration status, there's this assumption that everybody's not legal or, jumping over fence to get into this country. For many African groups, that was not the case. Of most of them, a lot of African groups came here through because of war. They came through asylum or protective status. So, it was given that most people were trying to get papers to get here because the war was ensuing in Liberia, that people would literally be standing and near at the U.S. Consulate and embassy, basically begging to get into the United States.
Okay.
Somewhere. So people would get here. So it wasn't necessarily discussed as much because everyone knew how people got there to a certain extent. That was a lot of people during that 90s time. If you were in Liberia, when you came to the U.S., it was most people came through protective status.
Okay. So later on, as we mentioned earlier, you worked on the Prince George's County Human Relations Commission. The things that were happening then, back in the 90s, when you were working on the Human Relations Commission, I would assume that your total experience up to that point impacted the way that you performed and the things you stated while you were on that commission. Can you talk a little bit about how the things you had already experienced influenced your work on the Human Relations Commission?
Yeah, so when I was on the Human Relations Commission, we focused on discrimination of race, color, ethnicity. I mean, there was impact because, when you are part of a group that has been stigmatized, you realize how people would treat certain groups because of their, where they come from. But one of the biggest projects I worked on at the Human Relations Commission was human trafficking. It had come to our, while I was on while I was on the commission, it did come to our attention that there was a lot of trafficking going on in Prince George's County, that they were bringing people from the airport, from BWI or DCA, but mostly BWI, into houses within Prince George's County that were vacant. Or they would just rent the houses out and have these, mostly women were victims, in basements in the houses. And so we, at the time, Mike Lyles was the executive director, and I talked to him. I was like, we've got to do something about that. And he started a task force, which I was pretty much the initiator of. And we met with all of the law enforcement and stakeholders and talked about how we address human trafficking in Prince George's County. The sheriff's office and some of the police officers were clear that they were finding homes where it was clear that something was going on. Even when I ran for office 4 years ago, we would knock on doors and we would get people that would say, there's something going on in a house down the street. So it was really just talking about how we combat human trafficking in Prince George's County, making laws that would address it, because some of the laws were weak at the time because people did not realize what was going on in the county. But that was really impactful because you realize that they targeted a lot of young women, a lot of women who did not have, a mother and a father in their homes, or maybe had parents that weren't very active in their lives. They would often target them by saying that, I want to make you a model, so I'm going to take pictures of you. You would often catch them at malls, where they would kind of target women that, just tell them they're beautiful. They want to take pictures of them. And then when they get the girls to come take their pictures, and they take them. And
Wow.
then the women would, the average age they were getting them at 14, 15. And so, some of the women were saying how they never had, sat at dinner tables and things like that, because oftentimes they were either doing something for the people who had taken over their lives, or they were like in some basement somewhere. So it was really, so we worked with a lot of the organizations that focused on human trafficking. It was really impactful.
Yeah, I'm sure that the citizens of Prince George's County and the community at large certainly do appreciate your efforts in assuring that the citizens of this region are protected. And were you all able to remediate the problem and place many of those victims back into their homes?
There was efforts to do that. I would say that it's hard to know how much of the problem we solved, because you really have to find the victims. And that wasn't easy. Sometimes it took a lot of undercover work from this law enforcement. I got to give law enforcement credit. A lot of them would do a lot of undercover to kind of figure out what was going on and where these victims were.
I
I think
understand.
the biggest art work was really making sure that, first of all, we do not criminalize, the victims, because oftentimes those that were victimized were often prostitutes, because they were taken and forced into prostitution. But when they got caught, oftentimes they'd be arrested and jailed and things like that. So like they were criminals. So, it was a way to kind of say if somebody's a victim of that, they probably should not be treated as a criminal, but rehabilitation is really important. But also asset forfeiture needed to be, those laws came into place in Maryland. Increased asset forfeiture just meant that you would make sure that that whatever assets were used by certain organizations, companies that were involved with trafficking, will be taken from them.
Okay.
When
Okay. I mean, that's very interesting, and I would love to spend more time on that issue. I just want to change gears for a second here, if you don't mind, Ms. Blegay, and talk about the governor's task force on economic development. And I'm certain that during your work on that task force, that you were able to get some great ideas that you can bring to the citizens of Prince George's County District 6. Can you explain to all of our listening audience and some congregation members, those in the Christian faith, how you plan to impact the county through your work on District 6 as the council member and economic development? What are some of the things that you are seeing out there in terms of getting funds into the local community, diversifying so that contracts go out to low income or those that have been traditionally economically oppressed? And what types of programs do you plan to bring in into the county District 6 to assist those who are deprived and don't have resources?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. The theme of my campaign is to live, work, and play in Prince George's County. The reality is that, they can see Prince George's County as like a bedroom community. Most of us live in Prince George's County, but we don't work in Prince George's County. We don't eat, we don't enjoy entertainment in Prince George's County. And because of that, that impacts our revenue. So right now, 70% of the revenues in the county are from residential, meaning that if they had to raise taxes at any point, we're looking at raising it on the backs of the residents, which really many cannot afford it. We have a high number of seniors in our community, about around 30%. And most of our seniors on fixed income and cannot take any more taxes on their homes or any more increases in taxes. So, which means that we're going to have to look for ways to diversify our revenues, which means increasing commercial development. Prince George's County has an affluent community. We have, they say we're the most affluent African American community. We have really nice houses, but we need to increase the economic development surrounding our nice houses, meaning that we need to look for ways to brand our communities with better retail. We have looked at the big projects like the Nordstroms and things like that. People they want those in their community, but we can think more creatively than that. As an affluent community of African Americans and diversified Africans and Caribbeans and Asians, we can take that and use that to build a marketplace of unique products within the county, in our shopping centers, and brand it, where that themed worked in Hyattsville Arts District, where Hyattsville Art District doesn't have any really big name companies like a Nordstrom's, but it still has the cool factor that everyone likes the art district, and it's brought more economic development. We can do the same thing throughout Prince George's County, and what we call downtown Largo is the next thing, where we have the hospital. They're moving forward with the medical park and the hospital, but not necessarily the retail, which is what we need. We need the retail, we need the dining, we need the business. We have a lot of businesses and business owners in Prince George's County, a lot of government contractors, but you find that most of them have their company offices in DC or Virginia. So how do we incentivize them to bring a business park of those type of businesses, even the tech business? I was talking to one of the guys who's in tech, and he was just saying how there is opportunity for tech businesses in Prince George's County. We just need to open up the door to them and invite it with us. So that is one of the focuses that I have. But when we talk about more resources, we do need to bring more resources, kind of incentivize those who live in the county. We realize our biggest jewel is our residents. Sometimes we've been focused on those outside of the county. Like I said, we were like, oh, we need a Nordstrom's, or we want big data centers, and we're looking and shopping in other places. But we have the people who have the tools and have the resources right in our county. So we need to incentivize them to actually build in the county, and build their businesses in the county. Oftentimes, I will tell you, I know a lot of business owners, mostly minority business owners, that have gotten just grief from a lot of the shopping center owners within Prince George's County, because I do feel like, a lot of times our county has a lot of franchises. Why? Because franchises seem to be well capitalized. It's not as much of a risk. And so many shopping centers are more open to have a franchise in the community, which is not all bad. But my point is, we need to bring more creative economic development, which means that we're going to have to go to our residents and say, if you've got a great idea, we've got incubators throughout Prince George's County that's going to give you the opportunity to bring your creative idea into Prince George's County and market it. And that will be part of the whole project, marketing it so that we can get people to start to go through the county. So we look at the Kitchen Craze and the Milk and Honeys and all of those companies now that people love, and now they're branching into DC. They're on H Street, but they started in Prince George's County. And to be honest, they bring people here. They bring people out of their homes to go and eat at these places. And we need about 50 more of them. And those with other similar products.
Okay, let me just comment on that very briefly. My wife and I were riding around in Fort Washington, which is a little out of your district. We're the last undeveloped or underdeveloped part of the county. And one thing that is apparent to me is that when we start looking at some of these big businesses, I asked my wife, I said, how many iPhones do you think we have in Prince George's County? But yet we are very hard pressed to have an Apple store in Prince George's County. I don't see a reason why, other than the fact of the makeup of the county and the percentage of minorities in the county as a factor, possibly why we do not have an Apple store, why we have to go to Virginia or some other part of Maryland to be serviced. It's ridiculous. And then I did a study when I was working for Department of Housing and Urban Development for the DC field office at that time on the incentive, the revenue structure of Prince George's County, which at that time, maybe about 4 years ago, the majority of the revenues coming into the county were based on what you said earlier, resident taxes. And that base is not strong enough to fulfill and elevate the types of programs that the citizens of the Prince George's County need. And so we've been trying, the ministers and the elected officials have been trying to work together to get businesses to come into the county. And without those businesses, the burden of carrying the county falls on the residents. And then the money is always designated for education, but there are other social needs in the county other than education. And so I'm trying to figure out, do you have any strong ideas on how you can elevate District 6 and the county to, you say, incentivize? Most of the time I found out that comes through tax breaks or luring corporate structures here and giving them land or something to 100-year use of the land or whatever. You know, the football team is thinking about moving out of Prince George's County. I mean, what are we going to do to seem like that many of the minorities have moved out of the district into PG, and so now gentrification is taking over. What are your plans to try to do your very best to, we're talking about the economic development. What are you going to propose or do? I know you said some of it. I know you said some of it already.
Right. So one of the things that we're going to start with is really, like I said, we need to push incubators and programs that incentivize local residents to build their businesses. We have a lot of talent in Prince George's County. The reality is that you find a lot of them running into the district to build their brands there. And so, or some people, or frankly, are looking in other places, they're shopping around. What we need to do is take them and say, okay, we're going to build some incubators where we have ways for them to kind of grow their businesses. So I know there is a business owner, April Richardson, who has the sweet potato cakes. And she, she was saying how one of the guys, she opened up a food hall, and one of the guys was one of her, he built his brand because he was one of her top vendors there. And now he owns a business in District Heights on his own. So that's the idea, is to find those find those businesses that can bring something unique and then give them an opportunity. So that's going to be the one thing. An incubator program that gives a couple of years, maybe not 100 years, but a 5 to 6 year program for those who follow the program and do what they should to be able to open up their brick and mortar in Prince George's County. And then we really need to follow through on the plans. Most of the plans in Prince George's County, District 6 especially, starts off with some discussion about retail. And then what happens is that it gets sidetracked. We saw that with Westphalia, where Westphalia started off with a plan for retail, and many of the Parkside residents and the residents in Westphalia were telling me that they bought these homes because they were promised that there was going to be some sort of retail that was going to be high end, or to the cost of their homes. And most of them are spending $400,000 or $500,000 in their homes. Now, then the plans of the houses moves forward. not the retail. So, now they feel like, okay, they got nice houses, but they got to drive down to Ford to Forestville or up to Wegmans or something like that because there's no retail in their immediate area, which was promised to them. And we're looking at the same problem with downtown Largo. Downtown Largo, the hospital's built. Then, our PIA, the developer says, okay, we're going to move forward with the medical park, but then we're not going to move forward with retail.
Okay.
Retail it has to be a part of our every moment because it is a way to make our communities more marketable. So we need programs to incentivize those around us first. Now, I would say that there are other people throughout this United States that would love to come to Prince George's County, especially when we market it, but we have so much talent here. And frankly, I've met too many business owners that have grumbled about the frustrations that they've had in Prince George's County. So we need a easier process. There's also complaints about the DPI process, right? The permitting in the county, the process of just ensuring third party authorization, the process in the county. I talked to one business owners that have been waiting 9 months, and for many of those in our community, they don't have the capital to wait 9 months. So we need to make it easier for them to build their businesses, but I do think that we need to start thinking about more walkable communities, which increases the ability for the businesses to see the market in Prince George's County. So a good example is 214, right? If you look at 214, there is a TOD now, a transit plan about making it more walkable, transit-oriented development. 214 is a major road in Prince George's County. It has it has Addison Road and Morgan Boulevard, two metro stations that are in and around the area. And so we need to make it more walkable so that we can kind of build out from the already development that we see in the district. So this is some of the things that we need to do to make our communities more marketable. I see a lot of changes. Look at the northern part of Prince George's County. You look at the Arts District, you look at College Park, you look at Mount Rainier, and just see a lot of the development around there. And we don't quite have that in the central part of Prince George's County, but we have the homes. And what would be what would really be sad is that people are concerned about gentrification. It is going on right now in the Suitland area, Capitol Heights, District Heights. We're looking at places that they are literally putting new houses that used to be 100, 200,000 are worth now 500,000 in those areas. And people are starting to see a change in the race of gentrification in those areas. And what is unfortunate is that if the development starts because people see the changes in the change of the race in those areas and starts to put up nicer things because of the people that are coming in, that would be a sad day, because that would show that, what does it mean to be an affluent African American community if you can't even get a quality development in your community?
Yes, well, one of the things that we really wanted to talk with you about today was your coalition building. You talked a few moments ago about some of the things that you want to do. How are you going to build coalitions in the community, and who will be the advocates in your coalition? And particularly, if you don't mind, can you talk just a little bit about your relationship to the faith community? I am a member of the faith community, so obviously, you have connections with members of the faith community, but there are many others in the faith community that would like to know, how are you going to be inclusive of those in the faith community in your plans as you move forward? I think you muted yourself.
The faith community is really important. I'm glad you mentioned that. I worked with the victims of domestic violence a couple years ago, and we saw a place where the victims of domestic violence did not have a place to live. And we saw that in our community, and we rushed to kind of see how we can address that issue. That's a big issue that we need our faith leaders to kind of be a part of it. Let me just start with this. We have one of the things, there's lack of affordable housing. And our faith leaders, we can work with them to get affordable housing. A lot of the affordable housing for seniors has been because of our faith community stepped up and provided affordable senior apartments. Look at St. Paul's and Jericho. And so we can do the same thing with a lot of the things, making sure we have affordable housing, making sure that we have housing for our senior, our community, domestic violence community. But also we saw with vaccines, look at the vaccine testing and look at the vaccination, not the COVID testing and the COVID vaccinations, how easily putting the faith leaders should be the first people at the table to say, how can we work with you to make sure that we have vaccinations in our community? Because a lot of people felt more comfortable walking into the house of the Lord to get their vaccination. That's the reality there. In addition, we have many families in need. Right now, COVID has opened up, has shown us the need in our community, food distribution. I'm going to be working with Impact One Ministries this Sunday, where we're going to be giving out food in the community. And the reality is that so many of those in our community need food, are hungry. And then working with the faith community to address the needs in our community will be good. But also I plan to have a big coalition. I want to work with a lot of the organizations like the unions, which I'm a part of, that are part of the workers community, to try to provide more services, working with local business owners, connecting our business owners with our school system. A lot of business owners said they want to connect with the school system, but they don't really know how, or they don't have the connection. So why don't we, we have an affluent community, and it's no reason our students should not have the ability to practice and learn different trades just from the practice. You talked about the apprenticeship program. The apprenticeship program that served on that task force, that was the focus on it. How do we build more apprenticeship programs in Prince George's County? Because they had it, we had a speaker that came from Germany and said that, most of their trades, from technology to even just the building trades, were all apprenticeship programs. And it just goes to show how much we can get our people working without high burden of student loans.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about, and thank you so much for responding to those unique questions. I would like to ask, can you talk a little bit about your work with the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, and how you're going to blend in that work of fairness into your seat on the county council, should you be successful?
We focused on really a big focus on police reform, driving while Black, a lot of these things that are very popular now through the Black Lives Matter movement. We were doing it before people were saying Black Lives Matter. I mean, in 2016, there was the issue with Freddie Gray. And when on the board of ACLU, we kind of talked about just the process. There was a law enforcement bill of rights in Maryland that gave the police a lot of leeway. They did not have to give statements on excessive force for a couple of days, which allowed them to kind of work with the union to work to, sort of work on their story. The biggest thing is that the disciplinary action procedures, you found that there were trial boards that were filled with police officers who would often sympathize with those who went before them. The trial board, I mean, we're even pushing now the trial boards, those disciplinary trial boards. Personally, it should be an objective, almost like an arbitrator. I mean, I work in labor where we never had, our nurses would never they would have a lawyer, an arbitrator look over their case, not another nurse. And so with the police officers, it should be the same, especially with excessive force. We should have citizens on those trial boards to hear what's going on in our communities. You find that most of the ones that are violating, using excessive force against the residents, they often are repeat offenders. It's not everyone. That bad apple theory is true. There's always a couple bad apples, but the problem is that the process in police reform, in the police process, disciplinary process, protected the bad apples and made it easier for them to keep their jobs. So it's making it harder for them, making sure a lot of the laws that passed this time is things that I worked on in 2016 with the ACLU that now are passing. Anton's Law was one of them, where if you had a police officer who had issues with excessive force, you could not get their record because it was considered to be personnel under the
Personnel action.
public law, which is the sort of the Maryland version of FOIA, which people often use for, but MPIA, which is the Maryland Public Information Act, keeps, of course, for any government worker, personnel information cannot be released. And that for police officers, which is crazy. If you had a police officer that was causing excessive force issues, you would not be able to get their record. So I worked on those issues, and I mean, I'm going to keep that up. There was, and of course, the police accountability issues falls more under the county executive. However, the county council is still a part. It can be hearing a lot of the things that they're doing and have some input. I'm definitely going to make sure that we keep the fairness factor in Prince George's County.
Well, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask. I'm glad you brought up about the county council, and I'm sure that the citizens of Prince George's County indeed appreciate your work that you did on the ACLU and how your work has brought in new policies and procedures and offered better protections for the citizens of Prince George's County. How did you intend to work alongside your colleagues should you be successful in obtaining that seat? What are you going to do in terms of building consensus amongst your colleagues?
Well, I am all about consensus. I have been a fighter. I have fought on issues, but let me just tell you, I know how to fight and I know how to pull back and say, let's work together. The county council is a different kind of, it's a more collaborative effort. Because when we're talking about development, when we're talking about just putting together the plans for the county, we're not fighting each other, we're working together. But we are going to advocate for our areas because there are certain times where somebody might want something down where you are in Fort Washington, but I'm going to say, look,
we need it down here, excuse me, we need everything in Fort Washington. So when you're on the council and they start talking about Fort Washington or District 6, say, let's split it in half. Give Fort Washington half, and then District 6, the other half, and then let the other people fight for themselves. How's that? But go right ahead, go right ahead.
But yeah, so, we definitely want to make sure that I'm going to be working in collaboration. There is not going to be a fighting, but there's going to be advocacy because that's important because District 6 does need the advocacy. You can say what you want about Fort Washington. You all have the harbor. We don't have that.
Harbor. We need some restaurants down here. We need some boats. We need a metro. We need light rail. Our transportation down here is terrible. I need you to fight for us on a subway or some light rail or something. They put a 2-ramp to go to 2 streets down here, 2 ramps coming down 210. One go this way, one go that way, but it hasn't eased our burden of getting to work. I don't work anymore, by the way. Yeah. So I'm gonna need you to advocate for Fort Washington as District 6.
We really are going to be, I'm going to be really focused on how do we make District 6 more marketable. We have the best communities from the Beech Tree to the Perry Woods to the Largo Kettering community to the District Heights community where I grew up in the District Heights community when I first came to Prince George's County. And then we have a lot of great communities in Prince George's County. It's building off of what we have. When I look at the District Heights, I see the Pennsylvania Avenue corridor, which is the gateway to DC. Most people who have to get off the Beltway to get into the district get off at 11. So what are we doing to make sure that exit 11 corridor has the development that it needs to keep people there, make people say, okay, I'm going to stop at some of the nice places here in Forestville on my way to DC because we need that. We need those revenues.
Let me ask you this quick question. Our state's attorney, Aisha Braveboy, has been a strong advocate for reformation of some of these statutes, and she's trying to assist the young people in the community by keeping them level-headed and trying to advocate programs that are going to assist the young people, particularly in staying out of jail and out of trouble, as well as the county executive, Angela also Brooks, is doing a fabulous job in that area as well. How are you going to work with those two people if you become I'm gonna say when you become now, when you become
Don't claim
District
it.
6 county?
So what we're
Count.
going to focus on is really the youth needs, activities. You see that the county executive rolled out her summer program. And those of you, you said you worked in the district. We know that that was the saving grace in the district. That summer
Pride,
program.
Marion Barry, Pride.
Well, yeah, kept a lot of kids in my generation off the streets. And to be honest, it made the change because then in the future, now those people, I represent workers in the district, and a lot of the kids that I knew that grew up with me, they now work in the district. They still work in the district, and they're managers now, and then because they started at 16 and they stayed in the government, and now they're in their 30s and 40s and 50s still working in the district. So we need that program. We need to keep our kids busy. The gun violence, I went to Aisha Brave Boy's recent, the state's attorney's recent the gun violence, our streets, our future, where they're having a basketball tournament with Mayor Jonathan Medlock. And that's what we need to do in our community, get our kids busy, because they say the idle mind is the devil's workshop. And even though that, a lot of pastors, a lot of people in the church say that, the reality is that it is true. When you have kids sitting around, they're frustrated. Look at the issues. Even increasing our funding in mental health will be important, because a lot of people are at home frustrated or don't have the homes that can support them during the pandemic, and they're acting out. We're seeing all types of shootings right now, that students, kids are acting out because they are just frustrated and tired. They've been in their houses. So let's get them busy. Let's get them on a basketball court, throwing hoops. Let's get them in our government working. Let's collaborate with our company, with our local companies. This is a time where the apprenticeship works, where we tell that student, look, you can work at this local company and make a decent amount of money for the summer, and maybe stay there and become a part of that company years to come. So this is where we really keep our students busy so that they can't kill each other.
Well, let me just say this. There are people online on Facebook who are saying that you have been very informative during this interview, Ms. Blegay, and I certainly do appreciate your time to come to a public forum and express and espouse your ideology, your thought process, and all the marvelous work that you have presented to us today on your body of work, your body of knowledge. It's a big deal. And you haven't touched on half of the things that you have done. And I just, in the few minutes that we have left on this interview, I just want to ask you a very hard, tough question that many voters are going to ask themselves when they go to the ballot box. What is the reason that anyone should choose you as their council candidate?
Because I've been an advocate in the community, I've proven my commitment to the residents of Prince George's County, from my show chat with the lawyer, from my advocacy on various issues, foreclosures, domestic violence, healthcare in our community, you name it, I've been there. So I'm not new to the process. I'm not new to this. I'm just taking my advocacy to the next level. I have a vision for Prince George's County District 6, and it is a community that we can live, work, and play. A community that we can sleep, we can eat, we can go to work, and we can come back home, all within our community. It takes a village, and together we're going to make a difference. So I definitely have let District 6 residents know I'm a visionary and I'm an advocate. An advocate meaning that I care about the community. I'm not doing this just for a paycheck. but I'm doing this because of my care that I want Prince George's County to work. We are an affluent community. Nationally, we're known as the most affluent African-American community, and that's really coming from the District 6 area. You find that you're walking around with Howard graduates, Hampton graduates, even graduate, I'm from University of Maryland, all African-American. And of course, we have the Caribbeans, we have the Africans, we have the Asians, we have the Hispanics, we have all the various communities. How do we show that our communities, that even with the majority African-American minority groups, we can live in affluent communities with quality economic development around us. It's essential. People are watching. The world is watching. The country is watching, and I want to make sure that we get the community that we deserve. So I promise that I will stand with District 6. I'm asking District 6 to stand with me.
Amen. Well, we certainly do appreciate this very candid live discussion with Prince George's County candidate Walla Blegay, who is running a successful campaign to this point and has some fierce challengers out there. And she's already said that she's a fighter and she knows how to fight, but she also knows how to build a coalition. And with the programs and ideas that she's demonstrated to us today on the gospel truth, we would advocate to you, all of our listening audience, wherever you are, to please give her your highest consideration and contact her. She's going to provide, Ms. Blegay is going to provide her contact information even right now. And as she does that, she's going to play her announcement video and then come back with some concluding thoughts on what she would have you to know.
Okay, I'm gonna
Can
share.
you play your video? Thank you.
Well,
Hello, my name is Walla Blegay, and I am announcing my candidacy for Prince George's County Council, District 6. Great things are happening in our community, and that is what we deserve. A community where we can live, work, and play with all of the amenities benefiting great communities like ours. Prince George's County has been my home for over 20 years. It's where I bought my first home, where I attended college, and where I began my career as an attorney. I'm running because I have dedicated my career as an attorney to working for people on issues that impact lives in our community. That experience has prepared me to be an advocate for people and communities in District 6. My work has been about helping working people gain protections and improving the workplace for nurses and other healthcare workers. I've been an advocate on issues of civil rights, foreclosure, police reform, quality healthcare access for all residents, and protecting immigrant families. You may know me from my show, Chat with the Lawyer, educating our residents on their legal rights. If you elect me, you will have an advocate with vision and experience. I will work hard to build an even better District 6. And on the County Council, I will never forget that I am working for you. So contact me at my website at wallablegay.com or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. I look forward to hearing from you. And I promise, I will stand with District 6, and I am asking you to stand with me.
all right. I ask people to contact me. My Facebook page is at Walla Blegay. My email is walla@wallablegay.com. And you can call me at 240-681-9324. And you can tweet, at Walla Blegay or Instagram at Walla KB. I am looking forward to hearing from everyone. We have a strong team. I have a village behind me, and we are going to go, we're going to be successful. I did want to share that I have a birthday coming up, and
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
and yeah, and I'm going to open up my birthday thing so that people can see it, and I'm about to share it.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
And I'm going to share because I want people to come. But when with Walla, you can go to my website. Hold on, let me just make sure. Is this, you just see the flyer, right? Okay.
Yes, we can see it very clearly. Yes, we can.
Okay. When with Walla birthday celebration. My birthday is actually July 21st, but we're having my my fundraiser on the 24th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's going to be in a Beach Tree community. Once you RSVP, you can RSVP on the website www.wallablegay.com. And there you would, and of course they have the Act Blue link, but you can, and I will send that to you, Pastor Jones, that you can send out to you, those listening. But we want you all to sign up.
Yeah, I'll post it.
Hey.
Yeah, I'll post it. I'll tell you the truth. Did you know that that my sister, who is one of your colleagues, birthday is July the 26th?
Yeah, I knew her birthday was July.
Yeah, that's Murray Jones Bryant is my sister, your friend.
Yeah.
And we wanted to just give her a shout out as well for helping us to set this up with the producer. My wife, Patricia, Minister Patricia Jones, is the executive producer of this broadcast. And so we're going to do our best to make it to your celebration as a family. And even if we aren't able to attend, which I think we will be able to attend, we're going to send in a donation to support your efforts. And we want to again just give you the closing thoughts, and then we're going to play our video to close out this segment of the Gospel Truth. Do you have any closing thoughts that you would like to leave all the people who are viewing this broadcast, which will be rebroadcast on YouTube as well?
Well, my closing thoughts is that it's really exciting to be here. When you mentioned Mary Jones Bryant is a fighter. And that's what I love.
It gets on my nerves, if you'll pardon me for saying it. that's my big sister. But she get on my nerve. I got one nerve left. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I love Mary Jones Bryant because that's what we need. We need someone that really, I've learned a lot from her, because despite, she was a nurse that really was the biggest advocate for her nurses. She understood what they needed and how to represent them. And I'm going to take that same, I'm learning from Mary and taking the same attitude to the council. Sometimes you need to fight, sometimes you need to pull back, sometimes you got to collaborate. Yeah. Because it's all about making the county better, and everyone on the county council is about making the county council better. We just, might see it in different ways. So I definitely want to make sure that, we push to make sure that that we get what's better. And I really want the District 6 residents to know that really I am committed to you, and I will stand with you.
Amen. That is well said, well stated. I'd like to know if you can see this screen that I'm sharing right now.
No, I probably have to look online to see it. I can't really see it from here.
Okay. Hold on for 1 second.
See it. I can't really.
Just give me 1 second. Okay, I can't seem to get that screen up, so I'm gonna let it go. Just 1 second. Okay, I'm going to just cancel the screen out. But thank you very much, ma'am, for this lively interview and discussion about your plans and goals for the future. We will be inviting you over to our church for one of our programs so that you may come and speak to the congregation and advocate for the things that you've been working so tirelessly on: the women's rights, the workers' rights, civil rights, and all the other magnificent work that you have been doing. Ms. Walla Blegay, we want to thank you for coming to the Gospel Truth Special Edition, and pray God's blessings upon you. And we certainly stand with you to assist you and support you in any way that is possible. May God bless you. And to our listening audience, we say thank you for joining in today. This will end our segment of the gospel truth. And we will say bye to you right now as we wave away. May God bless you all. And thank you so much, Ms. Wala Blegay, for your attendance here on the Gospel Truth. We'll see you next time on the Gospel Truth Special Edition. I am Pastor Jerry Jones. Have a great day, everybody. Bye now.